Hey there, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm always so glad that you are here. This is our virtual living room, the chat. That's where you are, where we're chatting about things that are important to you, hopefully, or things that should be important to you. We're going to challenge you, encourage you, and today I think we're going to inform you and someone in your life. This is a great show. I have a panel full of incredible, wonderful, articulate, godly women who are going to be talking about all of the things they wish men could understand about women. So listen, this is not just a great show for you to watch, but you're gonna wanna grab your husband for this one, girlfriend. You're gonna wanna get your boyfriend, your teenage son who maybe is starting to date and try to understand women. We're gonna dive into the female brain and figure out what men need to understand about us. So this is gonna be a great show. You're gonna wanna stay tuned. We're gonna have a great time. I am so glad you're here. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about things that should matter to you, but also should matter to the men in your life. So you still have a couple seconds. Grab your husband, grab your boyfriend, grab your teenage son, tell them to sit down and watch this. Got a panel of women who are going to be talking to us about what we wish men understood about us. To help us do that is the beautiful and talented writer, speaker, author, Patsy Claremont is coming right on out here. And not only Patsy Claremont, but I have a wonderful woman. Her name is Nicole C. Mullen. Will you please welcome her recording artist, Nicole C. Mullen. And then Angie Smith, blogger, writer, speaker, incredible woman in ministry. Angie Smith is here. And then Annie Downs, who has an incredible ministry to young women. Will you help me to welcome Annie Downs as well? Thank you guys so much for being here. This is quite a panel, quite a group of women. We're talking about, do you know what we're talking about today? Do you know why I have asked you here today, my friends? I've asked you here because there are men that don't understand what's going on with the female sex. They need a little help understanding what is going on with us, what's going on with our minds, why we do the things we do or don't do some of the things that they would like for us to do. And we're just trying to figure that out a little bit. So I've asked you all here because you're from different seasons of life, different sides of the spectrum.
That was nice.
Yeah, well, we have to have a little wisdom up here. We got to have a little wisdom.
Talking about
We have to have a little wisdom up here. You've been married how long, Miss Patsy?
51 years.
Wow. That's something to celebrate. And Nicole, I know you're married as well. Tell us how long you've been married.
20 years.
20 years. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. Wow. And Angie, how about you?
12.
You've been married for 12 years. I'm kind of along the same lines as you.
Where are you?
We're going into our 15th year now.
Okay.
So kind of where you are. And then tell me, yes, Annie, tell me.
Not married.
Okay.
Not married.
We love that. We love that.
Single.
Just single, but single and you told me how often you're satisfied about being single.
I said 5 out of 7 days.
5 out of 7 days a week.
Statistic? 5
Yes.
out of 7 days is a totally fine situation. Those other two, call me later.
It works the same way for us.
Okay, we want to walk away from this time that we're going to spend together with men better understanding something about their wife, something about even maybe their mom or just the women in their life to help us to better relate to each other. One of the main things, I think one of the main hiccups in relationships between men and women is this area of communication. Men just don't seem to value it the same way we do, talking. Tell a man, a guy, somewhere who's listening, the value of communication from our perspective and what they can do to help us feel heard and listened to and cared about. Miss Patsy, you look like you have something to say about this. Okay, come on.
First of all, I just have to say that between us, I added it up. We have 97 years of experience here, so somebody ought to be listening up.
That's right. I am.
Here's what I think about communications. Men are working too hard trying to figure us out. We can't even figure ourselves out. We don't want them to understand. We just want them to listen. We want to feel heard. Because when they start kind of chirping in on what we're saying, it can be annoying. We would rather they just listen to us and every once in a while nod and say, honey, you are so right.
Yes.
And it'll be good for them and good for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it would help if they would like turn the television off or at least down. At least down. I'll settle for down.
Okay.
Maybe put the iPad aside, to act as if they're listening would actually probably help.
Anything to add, you two?
I think it's like the age-old thing that we hear about men and women, where women are going just kind of wanting to share and men want to fix. And so that feels like the struggle that, not that I deal with.
No, of course not.
Not me.
Me either.
But that other people might. That I feel like, sometimes I'll go to my husband and just sort of want to like let some things come off my chest and just
Okay,
sort
but
of
how is a guy supposed to know when he needs to be your hero? Because that's
Yeah.
why one of the reasons probably why you fall in love with a guy is because in some sense you feel safe and secure and he fights for you and you love him for that reason. So how is he supposed to know if a guy's watching right now and he's trying to figure out how am I supposed to know when I'm just listening and when I'm supposed to step in and do something
Yeah.
about what you're telling me?
You got to have a code. You got to have signals, and you just got to say, this is a time I just need you to listen.
yeah.
Because it's not fair to the guy to have to guess
Very
what,
true.
we want them to know, and that's not fair. They can't know. So we just need to say, I just need you to listen, or this time, I really need you to give me your counsel on this, or I really need you to protect me on this because I'm feeling so heart vulnerable. So
And
let
to
them
the
know.
people who have, to the men who have single women in their lives, we want that from your husbands too. We want to be able to sit down with Angie and Todd, and for me to say, I'm working through this, and Todd to go, I hear that. Like God puts y'all's husbands in my life.
Kind of as big brothers to kind of cover you during this
to help
season.
for those times when I need someone to step in and go, that is not fair.
Yeah.
We have Carlos Whitaker is someone who will look at me and go, that's not fair that happened. I'm really sorry. And that is all you need to go, okay, I needed a man to say, I'm protecting you a little bit in this, even though you're not my wife, you're not my sister, but I recognize. And so I think sometimes married men need to know that there are single women in your life who love that about y'all's friendship too.
And I want to ask you something as a single woman. Do you get a little bit nervous that this guy who you might be dating is listening to you and he's leaning in and he's concerned about the things that concern you and he seems all interested? Do you worry that after you get into a marriage relationship with this guy that it might change? Because I hear a lot of single women that are concerned that the same guy they're dating is not going to be the same knight in shining armor after the ring is on the finger, you say I do, and you're just into the regular rhythms of everyday living.
So. I think that's a worry that we would face because we hear women with wisdom saying it gets hard and you have to have signals and you need to be able to say. So I think, but the other benefit is me being not 21 and getting married. I'm going to marry a man who's been around a lot of married women at this point. I'm 33, so whoever I'm going to end up with probably has had a lot more experience having sisters and friends get married and see their buddies be husbands. Does that make sense? Yeah. But I think that's a little bit of a, we're really great at talking over dinner once or twice a week. I wonder how that would work 7 days a week,
Right.
I was talking to Annie in the back room and I said, I always tell the single women, watch how that man treats his mama. And now, if he doesn't have any respect and he's critical of her and he doesn't check in on her, then I'd be real careful about that relationship. But if he's good to his mama, that's a pretty good indication he'll be good to you.
That's good. What would you guys say would be the most important attributes of a man that you would want to be married to, in relationship with, that you'd want for your own daughter? Now that, specifically those of you who have been married, what do you find now in hindsight are the most important characteristics you better be looking for in a guy? Because some guy right now is needing to hear and know what is most valuable as he pursues a woman maybe in his own
I think that's
relationship.
interesting, Angie, because I would love to know, when you think about who someone like me that you love is going to end up with, what are the characteristics you want me to look for and you want in a guy?
That is a good question. And I don't know that my answer would be the same now as it would have been when I was dating. My husband and I, we've been married 12 years, but just the Lord had those 12 years be pretty jam-packed with events. And I meet a lot of people who start dating and there's this just like pounding hard and everything feels, emotions are so overrated in relationships.
Because they actually don't have intellect. They're not very
They're
smart
not
emotions.
smart.
They're not smart.
They're not smart.
You actually shouldn't follow them.
No,
anywhere. Yeah.
you really shouldn't. And I think it's easy to sometimes and to, in your mind, skip past the things that you're seeing as a gap in the person that maybe you're dating and think, well, when we're married, we'll move into that, we'll whatever. And I think looking back now, several years ago, kneeling in a cemetery, burying a daughter with my husband, what mattered in that moment was not how much I felt attracted to him or how much I felt, there were just all these superficial things that had been on the table, and then you'd get your knees in the dirt together, and it's like, no, I need someone who I can have these kinds of moments with. And so it's hard to give advice because some of it I think you learn, but just to really see the character of a man in different situations. How does he deal with crisis? How does he deal with you when you're in crisis? What is your, and I think a lot of it goes back to communication, but what would you guys say?
I would definitely say that he would need to be kind, and it really helps if they're funny.
Yes.
Because life is intense and can be complicated, and Les brings a lot of levity into hard situations, and it makes them that much more bearable.
Very true.
What will happen when we have churches that really let the word of Christ dwell in them richly? What will happen when we have teenagers and children who really let the word of Christ dwell in them richly? We think marriages are going to be healthy. We think churches are going to be transformed, that communities are going to be impacted as Christians start to obey the text in their context, in their setting.
You think about the Bible. The Bible is the revelation of God. In fact, John says that it is the revelation of Jesus Christ. If we are to know God, then we must know him through the Bible. Explore the Bible will help us to do that.
So the heart behind Explore the Bible really is Colossians 3:15 and 16. Let the peace of Christ control your hearts. Verse 16 is, let the word of Christ dwell among you richly. So we want to say, hey, churches, church leaders, pastors, do you want a congregation, do you want a small group, do you want a Sunday school class filled with people that speak to one another in wisdom, that encourage each other, that admonish one another, that are filled with gratitude in their hearts to God, that they sing and they celebrate the salvation that God's given them? Do you want a group of people like that? Then you have to let the word of Christ dwell among them richly.
The exploration of the Bible, book by book, for groups of all ages, from senior adults to young adults to students to kids of all ages. If everyone is studying the same book, imagine the possibility of revival based upon the study together in community as a group, studying the text in its context. Imagine the possibility of letting the word of Christ dwell in you richly.
Whenever we're squeezed, whenever people in our groups or in our churches are squeezed, whatever's in them is going to come out. If the word of Christ is deeply in them, then that's what's going to come. They're going to speak to one another with wisdom. They're going to sing songs to God. They're going to be filled with gratitude. What's in you is going to come out of you. And so we want to do everything we can to help churches and help small groups and Sunday school classes get the word of Christ deeply, richly in the people.
When you are so outnumbered, so unable to complete that impossible task, so in over your head that you couldn't see the light of day even if you tried, you are exactly where God wants you. This is a God who loves weakness. He loves weakness because his strength is perfected in weakness. Are you choosing to stand firmly on the promises of God's word or on the faulty, shaky philosophies of our culture? Because the way we stand now has every bearing on the way this thing is going to end up. All right, this is kind of a sticky little question, all right? You guys are all very successful. You are articulate. You have kind of paved a path in your own careers and the venture that you're on in your life. So I want to talk to you about what men need to understand about a successful woman. Because sometimes men are intimidated by the single
Did you get
woman.
sweaty? I just got sweaty.
Yeah, exactly. So
Sweaty
I'm
right
doing
here.
this. I'm doing this.
Just asking.
All right, because y'all are successful, and there are a lot of men that are a bit intimidated when they see the successful woman coming. So what does a man need to know about a successful woman? That what does she still appreciate? What is still important to her? What does she value, regardless of how much money she makes or how well known she is? Talk to me about what a guy needs to know about a successful woman.
It took quite a while for me to be able to communicate to Les that I can be in a stadium with 10,000 women and they can be all tickled over what just happened. But what matters most to me is when he says to me, "You did a great job."
Isn't that the truth?
I need to hear from his heart how he feels about what I do. And he found that confusing because he thought, well, you just heard from 10,000 people or 20,000.
Yeah, they were all clapping for you.
Yeah,
What's up?
so
Yeah.
what do you need that for? They don't hold the position. They don't hold my heart in their hand. And so I need to hear from you.
Is your love language words of affirmation? Would you say that is one of your love languages, that you need to have those words spoken over you by your husband?
That and a good credit card.
Yes, Lord.
That's why you're
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about financial security in just a minute. In just a minute. But what about you? I love that so much. What
And
about
for me, I think it would be that the simple things really matter, you know, not just the big things. Sometimes I guess we can, I don't know, if you appear to be successful, people may think that it takes big things to impress you. I like the little things, you know. I like just being able to just sit around and no makeup and in sweats and hang out, you know. I love good conversations. You don't have to buy me things, that's not me. And at the same time, to remember that I am not just what I do. You know, I am not just Nicole C. Mullen, the artist. I'm Nicole C. Mullen, the person, the woman, the wife, the mother, the daughter, the friend. That's who I really am, not just the things that people applaud. And so for me, that's really important. But can I say one more thing too? I'm going to go back to something you had said earlier, Annie, about having married couples help kind of protect, you know, and to speak into your life. I think it's very important for single women to have married couples. I would caution against just a single woman talking to a married man, even as a big brother, little sister, because that can get kind of sticky.
Glad you clarified
you know
that.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we can do it in the
So
context,
what we want
like,
men to know is we do not want you meeting with our
absolutely.
single friend.
That's my little sister.
That's not what we're
not
saying.
gonna buy that's my little sister. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna buy that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. You know. So you said it right though, because you said Todd and Angie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to just kind of
That's good.
make
That's
that
good.
a
That's
good
good.
point.
Yeah.
So,
We can't say that enough. You know?
Yeah,
It's
we can say
important,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah, because
Isn't
if
it?
you're a home wrecker, we're coming after you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm saying.
I'm not
I love
saying
Jesus, we're not coming after you.
Actually, like I saw you. I saw this
Yeah,
right here.
yeah.
And I said, if someone messes with Todd, Nicole's coming after you. You know what I thought of? When you were, this is years ago, and you won't remember it. But I thought about it today. There was one year that you were singing, and it was the year of I Know My Redeemer Lives. It was the Dove Awards, and your husband was sitting in front of me. And when you got out on that stage to sing, he started weeping. And he cried through the entire thing. And there was such a sense of, we are a team, you know, and that this was an extension of himself. And I think that is so important, is we're respecting our husbands as our shepherds, and we're making sure that they maintain that. And as a result, we give them the opportunity to just you know, embrace. And I think that can be a little bit tricky because I wasn't doing what I was doing when we first got married. And I don't know if you guys were.
No.
See, so I think that some of that is a little bit different too. You know, like he didn't marry into this. We sort of had to learn it.
Yeah.
It was,
I'm only Nicole C. Mullen because of David Mullen.
yes.
You know, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, and he was an
exactly.
artist as I was an artist.
Yes.
And he decided to step back so that I could go ahead. He's one of my producers.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So every
Yeah.
time I take a bow, I have to take a bow for him as well.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
and,
great.
and we're not in competition.
That's
same team.
exactly
Yeah.
it. It's the same team.
I'm dying to hear from you because you're on the other side of the coin in the sense
Yeah.
that single and successful, do you find that there are men that are a little bit detoured by the success?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I didn't know this would be my life either. And so 5 years ago, who I'd have married would have graduated into this lifestyle, and whoever I pick now or picks me now is choosing this lifestyle for, But the thing that I wrestle with is that just because I work hard doesn't mean I don't need you.
That's good.
Just because I am and you don't have to have my job. I don't need you to feel like if I'm going to marry Annie, I'm marrying her job. No, I want to respect you and celebrate you and what you do. And so you don't need to feel like you're supposed to be in full-time ministry to live with me.
Annie.
Right. Yeah, I don't need Mr. Annie.
Yeah. Right.
He'd be funny.
Yeah.
But
So, Mr. Annie, if you're watching.
Chivalry. Do you still need that as a successful?
I think so. Sometimes when we bus home from an event, from a Girls of Grace event, and I get home at 2:30 in the morning and I am lugging 4 suitcases, I just go, Lord, I need you to work this out. I am tired and I need to feel like someone else takes care of me sometimes.
All right, I want to talk about, along those same lines, I want to talk about leadership, male leadership, and how critical that is to you as women who honestly could lead yourselves. You could figure out your own finances. You could take care of doing a whole lot of things yourself. How do we balance that with the fact that we hope that a man will be in our life the leader that he's been called to be?
That's tough.
I love it when a man steps in and steps up. I really appreciate it, especially when you say numbers, because you say I could do that myself, but I couldn't do that myself. I am no good at it. And my husband has a calculator for a brain.
Yeah.
God knew I would need that. So
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to just be a little bit vulnerable on that one.
I would love that.
Okay, I struggle with that.
You struggle with leadership with
I
him being
do.
leader. Okay, talk to me about
I do.
that.
And it's not because of what I do.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with that. This is just
The way you're wired.
It is. I mean, it's part of, and it's something that God is constantly working on in me. And that I was talking with my friend Jenny the other day, and she was talking about cleaning her house. And she didn't mean anything profound by it, but she just said, at the end of the day, my family helps me and there are things, but I'm the only one that can get it to 100%. And she was talking about cleaning her house, but I think a lot of times, and it's not necessarily truth, but I feel that way.
We do feel that way,
You
don't we?
know,
Like, if
I
it's going to
feel
be
like-
done right, we have to do it.
Yes, and so that's just something where I have, and I'm getting better about it, but I had to learn that one the hard way.
And still learning, right?
Yes, because just handing that over and saying when there are some things that, to be totally honest, I actually probably could do better, but that's not the best thing for my marriage.
That's fine. I worry into that because at this point, I have had to learn to do everything.
Yeah.
I don't get to go, I'm really terrible at taking out the garbage. Like, sorry. Like,
gotta do
you
it
still
anyway.
take out the garbage,
Yeah.
Right. So there's not a lot of things that I can go, well, I'm saving that for when a husband comes along to lead me. I'm like, no, I've got to have a balanced checking account, and I've got,
Yeah.
And so I worry that I see myself in that, and Angie, of like, how do you decide how to let him lead and where to let him lead?
Well, let's
and
flip
how
the
do we-
question and not, let's ask it this way. How does a man who is watching right now, how does he help his wife to grow in this area with this struggle that she has with leaning in and leaning on someone else and trusting in that leadership? How can he help her along in that path so that they don't end up butting heads and fighting against each other in the process? What does a guy do to make it easy on her to learn to let him lead?
I think he sits down with her and asks her that very question. I think they need to have some dialogue about it, and they need to be honest with each other because we don't know how she's wired and what her greatest needs are. Only she knows that. So we would be guessing if we said it out of the content of our needs. Just like a lot of women out there, they are better at numbers than their husbands, and they do a better job
But
of
isn't there an
balancing.
overarching, all these little specifics about, balancing the checkbook or taking out the trash or, biblically leading the home, and those are specific things, but the overarching principle of a woman relaxing into the leadership of her husband,
It's a great place to be.
Yeah, it is a great place to be.
It is. It
I
is.
think it really starts, this is going to sound like I'm trying to be super spiritual, and I'm really not. But But I think it really comes down, I know, it comes down to really, do we trust God? You know what I'm saying? If I trust God, then I can trust that he's going to, even if my husband fails at it, you know what I'm saying? Even if he puts us in the doghouse, you know what I'm saying? I can still trust God because I'm falling into my position. And my position is to be a help.
It's hard to let your family go into the doghouse.
And I'm a black woman who, if he's not going to do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, you know what I'm saying?
Right, so you're saying that there are times where we have to go, because I trust God and then God put me in this family, I will submit to that, even if I could do it better.
Absolutely. And if my husband says, I cannot do it.
Now I'm sweating.
But my husband might say,
sign up
I
for that.
cannot do it and I need you to help me here. I need you to take care of the finances here because I cannot. That's not my strength.
Yeah.
And because I'm helping him, I do that. But then there are other times I have to say, honey, you know what? I've been doing Bible studies with the kids every morning and the boys will really respect you more than me.
I
So
love
if you
that you
will do
brought- I
that,
love that you
know
brought
what I'm
up that
saying?
example.
Then the boys
good.
will listen to you more. And you know what? Because I grew up in a Christian home, my husband did not. He decided to do it and I had to step down. And there were times my husband said certain things that I may not have agreed with, but I was going to trust God with it. So I had to do this and say, okay, you know what? That's not exactly how I see it, and I'll tell the kids later. No,
On the ride to school, I'll fix all that.
And it was hard, and it is hard still at times. But because
he just went to 6 days
I
a
know,
week.
I know. 6 days a week. But in order to see him grow, and we're here to help,
good,
so there are times we have to undergird them and say, okay, babe, if you get out, I'm here. I got your back. You know what I'm saying? You can do it. We have to speak that into them until they actually get to that position where they can stand, you know what I'm saying, without us, you know, doing all this.
Okay.
Now, when you said you have to do that, was that put on lip liner?
Yes, of course. It wasn't
You do have to do a little bit of that too. We might get to that actually in the next part of this conversation. So look, this is just part one of a conversation that we are having with an incredible group of women who have already helped not only the men in our lives, but also us to see just a little bit more clearly how we can relate with the people that we love so much in our relationships and the dynamics of our homes. So would you just help me to thank these incredible women for part one of this conversation? And listen, I want to tell you that you need to make sure that you look up every single one of these women. We have links for you right here below the screen. You're going to want to click on every one. Each of them has incredible resources that are going to help to encourage you, your relationships, and everything that is happening in your life. So it's been a great time. You got to join us next time, though, for part two of this incredible conversation. We're going to go even deeper than this.